All right, well, I am joined by Toby Weber for this episode, and I'm really excited to catch up with Toby because between last season and this season, Toby, I've seen you everywhere. And like a few of the guests, you and I first met at Nelson Ledges. I'm pretty sure it was the Enduro, the SCCA Enduro in 2022. We happened to have our trailers near one another, and we've seen each other, and now we're here on the podcast. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, I've seen you autocross, I've seen you road race, I've seen you endurance race, or time trials, right? Not road race.
Yeah, not road racing. Yep.
Yeah. So I think you have a great story to share. I know there's going to be some great takeaways for the listeners, but first, let's learn a little bit more about you and what you do. So who are you and what is your profession? What do you do for a living?
So my name is Toby Weber, and I work as a robot programmer for Schaeffler. Schaeffler is an automotive supplier in Ohio, and a lot of people don't know Schaeffler. They probably know the company as Luke, L-U-K, yellow, black logo. If you ever replaced a clutch, yeah, you've probably seen that logo. If you drive a Ford F-150, you have a torque converter in that truck made right here in Ohio.
Wow. So what is it about? Are you an engineer by training?
Yeah, I know. It's another engineer in your podcast.
Yeah, what is it with engineers and motorsports? I think it's great, but man, I get jealous very easily. What is there something in engineering that attracts you to want to go fast and be in control of something that's nearly uncontrollable?
Maybe that's what it is. I really don't know where the connection is, but yeah, there really is a pattern. Yeah.
Wow. And how long have you been involved? So you're making robots?
No, no, I'm not making them. I'm making them do stuff, so I program them. Yes.
Oh, wow. I just heard, this is totally unrelated. I was talking to somebody yesterday. Allegedly, Chipotle is getting a concept store where there's nothing but robots preparing the food.
Wow.
So people won't be in there. It'll be like a ghost kitchen.
Yep.
So it's like for Door Dashers and things like that. But they're going to be taking over the world.
Yeah, I just don't know how would you like taking a scoop of rice and putting it somewhere that works, but what if the rice is empty? Is there another robot bringing the rice in the back? You still need some humans.
This is true. This is true. Well, that's really exciting. And how long have you been there?
With the company forever, I think 21 years by now.
Oh, my
Yeah,
goodness.
not always in the same job, not always the same location, but same company, home my whole life. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. And they're supportive of your motorsports endeavors and taking a day off here or there to get to the track?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
That is awesome. Let's talk a little bit more about motorsports and your background and all that. When did you first get involved in motorsports?
That would have been 2014, I would say. Yep. So in 2014, I bought my Lotus 7, the little orange kit car that you've seen at Autocross. I bought that in 2014, and I think that fall, like October, I did my first Autocross. I did my first track day in Nelson Ledges that summer. Those were the fun days back then. Yeah, on a Sunday, open track day, kind of like the wonderful Wednesdays today.
Right.
Yep,
I do
that's
remember
how
those
I
fun
started.
days.
Yep.
Yeah. And you just one day said, this is what I want to do, or did you have somebody introduce you to it?
Yes. So I always wanted to do motorsport stuff, but I never had anybody that was already into it. So my biggest thing was that I just thought, oh, this is for people that have lots of money, not for me. People that have these built race cars and whatnot. So yeah, I never did anything. And in 2013, a coworker of mine, Frank, he said, "Hey, I'm going to a track day at Mid Ohio with my Mazda, and if you want to co-drive, you're more than welcome. Just pay your own entry, pay for all the gas for the weekend, and we'll be good." And of course, I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
Um, that was my first experience with real motorsports. So yeah, we did that weekend. That was a lot of fun. Again, I still thought these are all like decked out race cars and whatnot, and no, it's not the case. It's not the case. You can just bring whatever, just make sure it's safe, and you're gonna have some fun.
And from that, you were hooked.
Yes. Yep.
So I know you said you did some early track days at Nelson Ledges. Tell us more about the progression of moving from back and forth, maybe with autocross and track days, and then I want to talk about more of the wheel to wheel stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I started with doing autocross in the Lotus. Then I did some track days, but only those fun days. And I think then Nelson Ledges closed down because they were closed down, what, 2016 to 18 or so, maybe? Anyway, they were
That sounds
closed
about
down.
right.
Yeah, so then I only did autocross with the Lotus. During that time, I think I matured a little bit and realized this little home-built car with just a little roll bar behind me, I shouldn't be doing those speeds. So I never took it back to the track again. And I just stuck to autocross. But the urge was always there to go on big tracks like Mid-Ohio, Nelson, Pit Race. They're all right around me. So then 2019, in January, I bought the 350Z that I have now. And yeah, ever since then, I've been doing track days. Yeah, I started with auto interest, just doing track days. And I don't remember when my first time trial was. Maybe 2020? I don't know. But yeah, soon after I did my first time trial, and that was a lot of fun because I'm a competitive person. So that just added an extra little bit to it, to a normal track day. And yeah, I did fewer and fewer normal track days. This year I didn't do a single one. I just did time trials.
Ah, do you feel that? Do you get more out of a time trial in terms of your driver development than just a regular track day?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, because we're all pushing each other to go faster and faster. I can compare my lap times with other guys. I can watch their videos afterwards when they upload it to YouTube, and I can watch their lines and what they do, what I should be doing differently. Yep.
And I do want to talk a little bit about this season. So the time trials you've done, what tracks have you done time trials at?
So first we did Nelson Ledges, that was the home opener. Then we did south of the border, the South course in Pittsburgh. Then we did one on the full course of Pittsburgh, then Mid-Ohio, then the Nationals Tour in Pittsburgh, which was South course, track sprint and full. And there's one more coming up at Nelson Ledges, October 21st.
You'll be at the 21st one?
Yep.
Awesome. So of those three tracks, we'll just consider Pitt one track, not
Yep. Yep.
even though there's all these different configurations. Which one's your favorite?
Did you say of those three or besides
Yeah.
those three?
No, Nelson, Pitt, or Mid-Ohio. Which one do you enjoy the most?
Oh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. I really like Nelson for how fast and how flowing it is. I like the elevation changes for Pittsburgh. I mean, there's just, if I would have to pick one that I would drive for the rest of my life, kind of thing, I don't know which one I would pick. I don't
No?
really don't know. No.
That's okay. You don't have to have a favorite. What's one big thing you learned this year doing time trials? One aha, like, wow, I finally figured this out, or why didn't I know this? Why didn't I know this sooner?
There was something that I kind of knew before, but a big eye opener was switching tires, as in switching brands. I went from the Hankook RS4 to the Bridgestone RE71 RS, and I knew that they were stickier, but boy, oh boy, are they stickier.
You could notice a difference, huh?
Yep. Yeah, it felt like cheating. Like I
No
didn't
kidding.
even try and I went 2 seconds faster. It's like, wow,
Wow.
big difference.
And for the listeners that don't know, those are really considered two different types of tires. The
Right.
RS4 is really more of an endurance tire,
Yep.
while the RE71 RS is more of a autocross time trial, gets the temperature, it has a couple good laps in it, and then you got to cool them down, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. So, are you able to get a whole season out of the RE71s?
I hope so. I don't know yet. So I bought them in August, used them for one event so far. Yep. But
Oh, you should be.
I did buy another set of wheels, so they are dedicated track tires now. So take them to the track, take them off, store them indoors. Yeah, they're too expensive to just drive them on the street.
Yes, 100%. Well, that's a big eye opener. 2 seconds.
That was not even trying. In the end, I was 3.5 faster.
Nice.
Yep.
Huh. So then, I guess as I'm thinking about it, what else can you do with those tires? Later braking, better handling, different cornering. There's
Getting on throttle a lot earlier. That was the biggest difference. Yep, between the two tires. I know that there were a few corners at pit race where I had to feather the throttle, and now I just floor it and the tires will stick.
See, I drive low horsepower cars. I can hit the throttle whenever. It doesn't matter.
Mine's not that high horsepower. Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, more than mine. Well, that's great. What other big takeaways from this season, or any highlights from your season?
If we're looking beyond time trials, then definitely the shortest night of Nelson Ledges in June. That was a big highlight.
You guys took first in class, right?
Yes, we did. Yep.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, if you remember in your episode with Eric, he already explained how well our endurance racing has been going for the last 2 years. And let's say we didn't have much luck. And so it felt really good having a race where the car doesn't have any hiccups, the drivers don't have any hiccups, and we just do lap after lap after lap, and that's exactly what you need at an endurance race. You just need to turn laps and be consistent, and yeah, it felt really great. Driving through the night at Nelson, chasing other cars down in the dark, and it got closer and closer to 1 a.m., and then eventually taking the checkered flag and winning the class. That was great.
That's awesome, and it was great to see you guys there for the whole event. I'm sure we'll talk about some of the other ups and downs of endurance racing, but yeah, and you did the whole event on one set of tires, if I remember correctly.
Yes, we did, yeah.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And how many drivers on the team?
4.
Okay.
Yep, there's 4 of us.
So you got lots of seat time.
Yeah, it was 2 stints for me.
And so help the listeners understand. So we covered autocross, we talked about time trial, now we got wheel-to-wheel endurance racing.
Yep.
Of those disciplines, how have they overlapped and helped you become a better driver? Are there things you can take from autocross to time trial, and from road racing to time trial or autocross? Is there things that you can share amongst those different disciplines to help you better on the next event?
That's a good question. Never thought of that. I think time trial and endurance racing, they're on the same tracks. So you get more seat time, you get more familiar, you drive different cars, it shows you different things. It also sometimes takes a while to reprogram your brain to a new car. I noticed that at Mid-Ohio, like my braking points, I used the same ones that I used with my Nissan, and I was braking way too early. And I had to realize, oh, okay, I can go further and further. Yep.
Gotcha. So you mean maybe between the car that you were time trialing there versus the one you were endurance racing?
Yep.
Yeah.
2 very different cars. Yep.
Yeah. And are you still? So this season, have you done much autocross?
I've done, but not much. Yep. I've done a few events at the beginning of the year, and the local club that I'm usually running with that's close to my house, they don't have any events in the summer. And then after the summer, I just had either a time trial going on or something else, and I just couldn't make it happen.
Can't do it all.
Correct. Yep.
We've been joking around a little bit about trying to squeeze in as many events yet this year with what's left on the schedule, but then trying to balance that with a happy wife.
Yeah,
not sure how to do it.
it's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the champ car races you guys have done this year, because I don't want to bring up a sad subject or a poor subject, but we saw you guys at Mid Ohio, and then we both just got back from pit race, and you guys have been wrenching a lot in those cars on Saturday
Yes.
afternoons.
Yeah.
Why don't you let's talk a little bit about Mid Ohio, kind of what happened, but the takeaway I want for the listener is you guys have persevered, and you just don't say, well, we're going to pack it up and go home. You found a way to get the car back on track. So what happened at Mid Ohio?
So I don't know 100% what happened, but what happened was that my teammate was in the car, and the last turn at Mid Ohio, something went wrong. He was on the outside, found himself in the grass, and from there on, you're a passenger, right? You're just going straight. Ended up in the tire wall, and at first I thought it's not that big of a deal, maybe a bent fender or whatnot. But as soon as the car came back to the trailer, we noticed, oh yeah, the wheels are pointing in different directions, and it looks a lot worse than I thought. So we we looked at everything. We knew we needed basically all new suspension besides I think the coilover survived and the knuckle. But we didn't have the parts, so we loaded the car into the trailer, drove about 2 hours back to the shop, and then we have another 240. So our endurance racing car is an S13 Nissan 240SX. So there was another one sitting at the shop. We took the suspension parts off of it, put the suspension on, and then we started pulling on the fender, on the frame, on the radiator support, trying to make it sort of straight and that the tire is no longer rubbing. And yeah, I don't remember when we finished. It wasn't too terrible. It was like maybe 7 or so. Yep. So at that point, we put the car back into the trailer. Um, and we also took the camper with us to the shop. So the other guy stayed at the camper, and I live closer to Mid-Ohio, so I drove home. And we met up again on Sunday morning at the track, and we were ready for the 7 hour on Sunday.
That is awesome. And that, again, a lot of people would look at that and just say, okay, we got to pack it up. We don't have access to a shop or the tools or that. And luckily there are teams like yours that do. But you get it done so you can take the green flag the next
Yes.
day. And I think I remember a little bit of issue on Sunday, but did you guys take the checker?
Unfortunately not, no.
No, okay.
We got close, really close. We had some overheating issues, not just that race, even the 2 prior events we had issues with it. I think we made it 6 out of 7 hours before the car came back and it was overheating. And no, yes, it was overheating, but also it's developed a misfire. So we looked at the spark plugs, they didn't look good. We checked compression, we found no compression, cylinder 1 and 2. So at that point, we knew it's over. We started packing up.
Oh, man, disappointing. But I think that says something about a car that was in the tire wall, several hours of work, and it still ran about 6 hours the next day. That's
Yep.
To me, that's a win.
Yep.
And for the listeners that might not know kind of what goes into endurance racing, what was the activities that took place from Mid-Ohio up until when you guys got the pit? What kind of work were you doing? How'd you prep the car for pit?
I have to admit I didn't do anything.
I thought that might be your response. That's okay, though.
Yeah, yeah, that's why it's a team sport, right? So yeah, I was traveling with Xtreme Xperience in between, and the other weekend I don't remember, but yeah, you will know there was only 3 weekends between, or even just 2. So, Greg, the car owner and shop owner, he kept us up to date. He took the head off, and the head was melted. Like the gap between cylinder 1 and 2 was melted away. That's why neither of them had compression. He had a different head. He put that on and retimed the engine, and I think that was it. Yeah.
All right, then loaded it up. And how did pit race go for you?
Well, as you said, we're wrenching a lot on Saturdays. So unfortunately, it was a repeat kind of Mid-Ohio. about 2 hours into the race. I was about to be the second driver, so I already had my suit on. I was about ready to get my helmet on, and we hear the call over the radio that the car is in the wall, but it's still driving. So we thought again, oh, it's not that bad. And then the radio call comes in. No, 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 I'm not driving anymore. This is not good.
Hmm.
So same thing again. Suspension took a lot of damage. Tires pointing in different directions, and the fender bent in. Yeah, car came back on the wrecker. Pulled it back to the trailer. We looked at it. Yeah, damage was actually worse than it was at Mid Ohio. But we said we did it once. Let's just do it again. We can pull it off. And so we loaded up, packed everything up. We left with confidence because we left the camper behind and we left my car behind. So we only took the race trailer back to the shop, and same thing again. Yep, took the because this time was the passenger side. So this time we went to the other car again, stole the passenger side suspension pieces off of it, put it on our race car, swapped over bushings and stuff during the process. Then pulled and yanked on the fender radiator support even more because everything was about 6 inches the other way. Um, yeah, welded the bumper back to the car because it was just floating in the bumper cover. And then we loaded it back up, got some dinner, and by 10 o'clock we were back at the track.
Amazing. And you guys took the green flag on Sunday.
Yep.
Any highlights or any stories you want to share from Sunday's race?
Yeah, Sunday went a lot better. Um, I was opening on Sunday, so I had it the first stint. It didn't go without problems. As soon as I rolled out of the pits, I realized my flagtronics. So everybody that's not familiar with Jam Car, they're using a little device called flagtronics. Super small display in the car, but it shows you if there is a yellow where you are right now, if it's green or a red flag, or a black flag, they can just communicate with you. But mine was not showing anything, and I was wondering, I think it should show a yellow right now. So I radioed in, and they're like, yeah, that should do something at least. So on my outlap, I immediately come back in, and must have been that the USB outlet broke. So we unplugged it, plugged it into a different USB outlet, and it fired right back up. And I went back out, and then I was at the back of the field. Um, Had a few clean laps, obviously, because everybody got away from me. Then I caught up to the field. I did some more passing. The car ran way better than last year. I actually got to do some passing. And if you like it or not, I was able to also pass your yellow car. That was a lot of fun. I knew that Joe was in the car, and I knew I was faster. I tried to pass him, and going up the hill, coming out of I think it's 7 at Pittsburgh, I thought I can get on the throttle a little bit early, get a run on him, but that just led to me um, sliding around, and I lost a few miles an hour. Then another time I had him lined up for the front straight. Got too excited, missed fourth gear, and that was just those 2, 3 miles an hour that I lost was enough that he was able to pull away from me again. But eventually I got him going up the hill, and the BMW joined the party, and we were 3 wide, cresting over there and doing the pass. That was a lot of fun.
Oh wow, that does sound fun. I know we always have a great time with you on track. So I'm glad to hear that you had a great stint.
I did, yep.
Yeah. What is it that so comparing autocross, time trial, and endurance, do you have a favorite?
So I think you can already tell by the number of events I do that autocross is probably at the bottom. I'm not saying it's not fun, but out of the three, I would say it's the least fun. I don't know, between time trial and with the amount of bad luck we had, I sometimes have a sour taste about this whole endurance racing thing. Um, but yeah, otherwise, it's just for me, it's more fun driving on a big track, and I couldn't really tell which is more fun. Time trial is just really about you in the car and trying to go as fast as you can. Where a jam car, you have to navigate around the traffic. There are so much faster cars, slower cars. You have to still try to go fast, but you also have to remember this car needs to drive for 8 hours, not just for a 15 or 20-minute stint and put down this one flyer lap.
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot. It's interesting when you kind of compare the two because, to your point, time trial, it's you, it's the car. You've got space most times between your competitors. There's a lot going on at Endurance Weekend.
Yes.
I don't necessarily, I hate to use the word anxious, but man, to get that car down to pit and make sure it can start, there's a lot that has to happen. And then there's a lot that can happen during those 7 or 8 hours.
Yep.
Yeah. What is there anything we didn't talk about for the 2023 season that you wanted to talk about?
So the one thing that we can talk about is I started last year to work for a company called Xtreme Xperience, where I'm not so much driving, but I'm in a car, I'm on track, and I'm actually getting paid, which is still crazy to me, think about it. But yeah, I did only one event last year. I did 3 this year. I hope I can do more next year because it's just too much fun. So what that company does is they bring cars, supercars to the racetrack, and then everybody can buy a few laps, and I'm the instructor sitting in the passenger seat trying to keep them safe and have some fun.
I'm glad you brought that up because I did make a little note here because you worked that in earlier in the episode. How did it come about to get connected up with them?
So I kind of knew about the company, but never really paid too much attention to it until last year when we had it's a time trial at Pittsburgh on the South course while they were using the North course. And I was like, oh, that's fun, these instructors. I bet they have a good time. I want to have a good time. So I looked them up. I looked at how to become an instructor. And then it's just like any other job, really. I mean, you apply, you go through the process, you have an interview, and they said yes, come out and do your first event. We'll see how it goes. And
All
yeah,
right.
they didn't fire me. I'm still there.
All right. Well, now I've got some questions about this because I think there's probably some good stories here too. You're in the right seat with someone that might have never been in a high performance car before.
Yes.
Is there a funny story where somebody did something goofy, said something, anybody threw up in their helmet? Any good stories?
Throwing up in helmets, I think it has happened before, not to me.
Yeah.
We have also a lead car. It's a Charger. It's a Charger, and guests can ride along so they can see the track and see the cones and everything. And just one event this year I had it where I was the car behind the lead car, and the lead car had to pull off because the guest got so sick that they had to stop.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
It does happen, yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. You see all kinds of people that are overmotivated, people that are really conservative with their driving, people that say, "Oh, I'm not going to go slow," and then actually drive really well and fast. Yep,
Yeah.
you have it all.
I'm sure they're watching Drive to Survive the night before, trying to watch what the Formula One drivers do, and then they strap in and do it. Of the cars you've been in with Xtreme Xperience, what's your favorite to sit in, to be in, driving?
Driving, definitely the Porsches. They just drive better than the others. Yep, definitely the Porsches.
Gotcha.
Yep, they're lighter, more nimble. Yep.
That's great.
Sound wise, you have the Lambo with a screaming V10. It's pretty good. I could listen to that all day.
Yes. And then is there a track? What are some of the tracks you did? You did 3 events with them this year.
I did Pittsburgh, then Putnam Park in Indiana, and then Michigan International Speedway in Michigan.
So I'm going to guess, I've been to Michigan for a NASCAR race, so I'm familiar with the oval. I'm not familiar with any road course. Do they have like a infield road course?
Yes. I'm not sure if there's much racing going on it. I didn't see very many tire marks. But yeah, we're just using the front straight from the oval, then hit the brakes, and then turn left into the infield, do a little bit of infield, and the front straight again.
Got it. All right.
Yep.
Well, that's exciting. I hope you get to do some more events with them next year. And
I hope so too, yeah.
in a way, I would imagine you sitting right seat with some of these folks. They get to learn a little bit about you and your experience. They get a taste of what it's like to be on track. Maybe that's all they need to take the next step and maybe start autocrossing or do some track days.
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know folks that do programs like this, if any of them take the next step and get into some club events.
That would be an interesting statistic, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's jump ahead to 2024. What do you have planned for next year? I know we're getting ready to hit the off season here in Northern Ohio, but have you given any thought to what you'll be doing next year?
Not really, no. No, I think it's going to be participating in the Ohio-Pennsylvania Time Trial Challenge again, where we do the time trial events, Nelson, Mid-Ohio, and Pit Race. Maybe do some endurance racing like this year, and yeah, nothing drastically is going to change, I think.
Very good. Just keep doing what you enjoy, right?
Yep.
Getting better at it. Do you do any sim racing or anything?
Not very much. In the off season, I do play Gran Turismo on the PlayStation a bit, but during the summer, no.
Nothing. Yeah, got it. While we're talking about endurance racing too, how did you get connected up with Eric and Greg on that team?
So it was through Eric. I don't remember where I met Eric for the first time. No, I don't. It was at the track, but I don't know which event. It was at Nelson. And you know how it goes. We have the same car. He just has 2 extra turbos that I don't have. So we start talking about what tires, what setups, how much camber you're running, how fast can you take this turn, how fast can I take that turn, and so on. And yeah, we just met each other again and again at the track, and then he mentioned that he's in a Champ Car team, and then they were looking for a new driver, and he asked me if I want to be the 4th driver, and I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
Never done wheel-to-wheel before, so that was really exciting.
Yeah, and Champ Car is a great way to make that happen. And being at the drivers' meeting, they always talk about you're going to be out there with some first timers, and that's what the organization is about too, is growing the sport and getting more people on track.
Yep. That was my biggest fear when I started doing endurance racing, that I'm the newbie. I kind of know my way around the track, but I've never been in a wheel-to-wheel situation. And yeah, Champ Car's like, give us $50 and we're going to let you on track. So there was my first event, and there's people who have done it for years and years. Yeah, but in the end, everything went well. No contact, nothing.
No.
We're good.
Yeah, I'd say your motorsports career is progressing very nicely. Let's talk a little bit about motorsports advice. What's some of the best motorsports advice that you've received?
The best advice. I think the best is, especially if you're new to the sport, seat time is more important than anything. Also, maybe if you're really new, the just do it approach would help. I've talked to other people, they're into sports cars, and they have fast cars and whatnot, and they think, oh, I haven't installed this last part. I'm like, no, you shouldn't need even the last 10 parts that you installed. You could have taken this car stock to the track, and you would have had fun, and then you can figure out what you want. Yeah, that's another advice, that go to the track, figure out if it's for you, if this type of track activity, be it time trials, just track days, if that is even for you, or which class is for you. Maybe you overbuild your car and you're like, oh no, now I have to compete against all these other cars that are way more built than even mine. I want to build backwards and drop down a few classes.
That's a big so the bits of advice that you've shared, Toby, are awesome, and I can't tell you how many times people back themselves into a class they don't want to be in because they thought it would be cool to put the coilovers on, or let me go ahead and, put the reduced supercharger pulley on, whatever the case might be. And now they don't have the funds to compete.
Yep.
But yet they're stuck in a class where people are spending gobs of money to get on the podium.
Yep.
So that's super advice. Just get out there, try it, see if it's for you. If it is, put your plan together from there.
Also, don't do what I do, if I can give you advice. What I did at Pittsburgh. I changed 3 things at the same time on the car. So I changed brake pads compound, I changed my tire compound as we talked about, and I made a little bit of suspension changes. But yeah, I didn't want to do it all at once, but sometimes life happens, and my brake pads were down to like a 16th. My tires were totally worn at the same time, and my body had an opening to fix some of my suspension stuff up. So it all happened right in that month before the Nationals event. So I don't know if those 3.5 seconds is really all tires, or if some of it is the brakes or the suspension changes. I'll never know.
This is true. And that's why, we talked about fun days earlier that Nelson Ledges has, and now, they're called different things at different tracks, but if you could find a track day where it's an open track day and you can go out and you can run 5 laps, come in, make a change, go back out, and those kind of track days give you the opportunity to zero in on one element, feel those changes, and then move on. That's great. When you want to learn about something, maybe it is, switching up these tires or tire pressures or handling or driving. What are some of your go-to resources to learn more?
I don't think that I have a single source. Yeah, I just go on the internet, ask Google the questions that I have, and it usually finds the stuff. I found good resources are Tire Rack. They've done some tire testing that gives you a benchmark of where each tire is and how long it might last, how fast it is. I think Grassroots Motorsports is another good one. They do lots of testing, testing on different parts and tires and whatnot. And then just generally see other comparisons made on YouTube and how this works and how that works. H.A. Hartman, a guy who sells carbon fiber wings and winglets and other different bits and pieces. He has good videos talking about his products. I was able to get some inspiration from him when building my parts for my car.
Got it. I have just a couple questions left, Toby. So how do people connect with you and maybe even follow you?
So you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram. I even have a YouTube channel where I haven't uploaded in 2 years. You can subscribe to that one.
We'll put links to all 3 of those in the show notes. It's tough to do it all. It's tough to be on track, get ready for track, work, have personal relationships, and update YouTube and all these other socials. But we'll get the links up there so people can keep tabs on you and your driving and your racing. Before I ask the final question, is there anything at all we didn't talk about that you had hoped we would have?
I don't think so, no.
All right, so it's time for that final question, Toby. Have you ever been late to grid?
To be honest, I don't remember if I was ever late, but I know how good I am with time management, so I'm going to say most likely at some point I was late to grid.
Well, if you don't remember it, it was probably not a bad thing. You didn't get penalized, didn't get put back at the back of the pack or anything.
Yep, I know that I left grid before realizing that I forgot something. And I was doing 1 lap, 2 laps. I'm like, I feel like I forgot something, but the car feels fine. I'm wearing my helmet, the seat belt's on. And then I realized it was my instructor that I forgot. So I went back into the pits and he was waiting for me. I picked him up.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, Toby, thanks so much for being on the podcast, sharing more about your motorsports journey and sharing some ideas on how folks can advance their motorsports career.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
All right, don't hang up.